Retrospective of Citizens of Reality, Season 4, Part 2.
The real agenda of educating black children.
It's not enough for there to be 1 month for Black history.
Did you know that Black History Month was originally just a week? Dr. Carter G. Woodson, known as the father of Black history, started the first Negro History Week in 1926. It grew into Black History Month starting in 1976. I'm Carlton T. Clay, and we are honoring Black history because Black history is America's history.
Black history should be every day you have history. So let's tell the truth. If they, powers that be, tell our children, without your ancestors, this country wouldn't exist. If we tell them the true history, if they are taught their true history, that would make them too strong, and that would threaten the powers that be.
Too black, too strong.
We have to change our mind about ourselves.
I am black. I am beautiful. I am beautiful. I know my history. I know my history.
What resources does the community here in a place like Detroit have at their disposal to ensure that they have strong leaderships in the buildings?
Yes, the leadership at the top is always key. Resources they have, well, there are a few left. There are a few principals who are actually worth their salt being called principals. But with the current status of DPSCD Community District, Detroit Public Schools Community District, they don't want principals. Principals are usually somebody who came up through the ranks of education. Now they have managers. Well, if the parents in any school district decide to say enough is the hell enough, the state would have to listen. But our parents are so quiet, so docile, so into their own little thing. Stay in your own lane. When there's a pothole in my lane, I gotta change lanes. Now, I ain't standing. There's a big pot. I see the pothole. Okay, I gotta change lanes. Okay, same thing with my children going to a dead end school. I gotta change my schools. Well, the whole pedagogy of African thought. Okay, for example, they took the inclusive South. Everybody talks about the inclusive South. That's one of the core things. I don't know if you can see this, but this is an African Center. We call it the Sweet Bee chart. It has the African Center Kwanzaa principles, and then that's external. But internal, what does the inclusive South, what does the Kujichagulia look like on the inside? So you're not just shouting a bunch of Kiswahili symbols and terms. You're reflecting inside. Culture must dictate behavior. When you talk about African-centered education, it was more than just ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. It was a reflection of your culture, the morals, the code of Ma'at, principles, balance, harmony, reciprocity. All these values and principles, not just the words, but the values. So all this. Now comes the hell and hot water. After the 1997 thing of paper saying how good the Detroit Public Schools were, how dynamic our children were achieving, it scared white America to death. And so they went on the attack. And when I say attack, they came in destroying everything. The 1999 takeover. The coming generations, we're hoping that you won't, but somehow or another, go back and dig up. Now, they're going to start hiding it. Critical race theory is out here. They're going to try to eventually use that to kind of shut it down from you, hide it from you, and archive it from you. I know in Detroit UMD school, there was a brother, a doctor who, I guess about 15 years ago, who had a lot of information about the slave letters, the slaves who did that, who documented their life as a slave. He gathered all these things and put them in the archives, and guess what he gave the archives to? He gave the UMD Mercy on Livernois and 6 Mile. So they got it all archived. And you know how it is about archives. You got to have permission. First you got to know that they're there. And then you got to have permission to get in there.
They were putting stuff on my papers like, as journalists do, was being taught to write too much fact and time. Well, that's not the way it's spelled in my dictionary. If I misspell a word, and one of these people doing this was Dr. Kelly Wright. So one day, I decided I was going to get some get back. He wrote the word criminal on the chalkboard, but he misspelled it. He spelled criminal, C-I-R-M-I-N-A-L. And I sat there at the front, and I was like, yes, yes. So I raised my hand. I said, Dr. Wright, I said, that's not how criminal spelled in my dictionary. And that man instantly turned deep red. And he said, Whitney, I've been teaching this for 25 years. Maybe you know something more than what I do. So then I thought, maybe I had a point. But he was right, because what he really was saying is, you don't know more than what I do. And I needed that.
That we were raised that we need to be strong, we need to be solid, we need to carry the weight emotionally and mentally and physically for our family and never show weakness.
My true belief is theirs are mental and it's not necessarily the case. So it takes nothing for them to throw you on any of the drugs, and that will actually make you worse than you were when you first started out.
When you go through a program, when you're trying to recover like addicts and those type things, so on and so forth, the first step is admitting that you have a problem.
Some people can't admit they have a problem, and quite honestly, when it comes down to mental health, nobody want to be the crazy guy in the group. We all know we got one. We always got to be. You never want to be you.
This current generation that we're not facing as many of those physical struggles, we can now start to have that conversation on mental health and how to prioritize that. Definitely, as far as removing that stigma, I think we're moving in the proper direction, but definitely we still have a long way to go.
Because of the negative social stigma that was associated with mental health issues going back to the 60s, 70s, 80s, I find myself today feeling like any type of request or indication that you may need help is typically looked down upon, and especially for me as a black man in America.
Whatever you've been taught or really programmed, because you know when we say that, I've heard it said, you wasn't raised like that. Yeah, that's right. But you're using the wrong word. It's not raised, it was programmed.
The stigma of addressing mental health in the black community in particular is one where we shame people. We were taught to be strong and that we could just keep pushing beyond however we felt or whatever was going on in our lives that was causing us despair. However,
this is media, some of the things that I wish we had that we don't have anymore is, and I'm saying this, maybe I'm the youngest guy in the room here, but I miss old BET. And I mean, maybe I'm dating myself, I'm talking old school Barton Cable BET. When like we sat down and did something and it was positive messages.
That's 100%. BET obviously was black owned, still maintained the name, but it's owned by whites. Mr. Johnson had a tremendous idea when he came up with it.
Not trying to be biased in any sort of way at all. However, I would be foolish not to first and foremost say that anyone that is watching this video right now or watching this segment of a video, I would definitely recommend that you watch every video within the Citizens of Reality series, because that is where you're going to have an opportunity to become aware of those things, especially right now, that would be beneficial to yourself as well as, if you are an African in America, to our overall community. It's going to give you some very beneficial insights on things, and ideally it's going to spur you to look into and research different things and different topics on your own, and just see how vital and necessary it is for us to do our own research. Look at things and have a desire and a focus on anything that's going to make you and I and the community and ultimately this country and the world better overall. And I believe that a foundational point of that would be checking out the Citizens of Reality series and those recommendations that you hear not only from me but for other individuals that have presented in the videos.
Malcolm X.
Children do like to read. People like to read. They say that you want to hide something from a black person, put it in the book. Well, I tell you what, if the book had When and Where I Enter by Paula Geddes, they're going to find him. They're going to find it. If the book has the Civilization of Barbarism, they're going to find it. So depending on what book. Reading is like anything else. If you don't like the content, you're not going to pretty much read it. Okay? So, to have books and material that children enjoy reading, Black Faces, that was important. To have a child pick up a book and there's a black face looking back at them. The Black Snowman, that's another good book. Why Mosquitoes Buzzing in People's Ear.
Consistently been this elevation of the brother Martin and the perspective and the agenda that he was presenting, and the villainizing of the brother Malcolm and what he stood for and so forth.
There's a book, if you have not read it yet, it's called 1984. And a lot of that book is about Big Brother, the camera's always on, and the camera's always watching. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to exalt you to your highest place in whatever your skill level is. But we're going to keep filming. Because there's going to be that one time you, oh my God, do something as a human would.
A lot of times the people that we that are told to us, like I was mentioning before, about we should be our leaders, are misleading us. And the people that are the villains are actually the positive role models. Uncle Tom's a great example. The ones that you were talking about, like, you mentioned Lizzo, that's what I'm saying, the narrow caricature, because she's kind of like, some people might look at as a mammy figure or whatever.